Um, First of all, welcome. We're very happy to have you. Thank you for joining us. Apologies in advance. I said you're muted, we're not. So if you're hearing lawnmowers in the background, that's just a result of us not being able to be muted. So thank you for making time to be with us. This is another session of answering parent questions on the reopening of school for 2020. I don't know that we could have enough sessions to answer questions on reopening of school for 2020. But we wanted to be sure to do this today so that you had an even stronger confidence coming into the start of the school year with questions that you have answered to our best ability with the information that we have today. So since announcing our reopening plan on August 7th, we've been working hard to prepare school for the arrival of our students and our faculty. And we're strategically hosting this meeting maybe later than some of the other schools that you've seen hosting meetings, because we wanted to be sure that you had additional information regarding the reopening of school, the first week schedule, academic schedule. So we're going to try to answer some of those questions that have come in too. We've divided the session by grade level in an effort to address relevant information. So this is the 9th and 10th grade level. I feel like it's a flight, like this is the flight for 9th and 10th graders. If you're on the wrong flight, this is your moment to check out. So this is the 9th and 10th grade session. To be able to answer questions that are relevant to your grade levels, and there may be different information for 11th and 12th graders. So we'll stay focused on that. A reminder to our 9th grade families, tomorrow night there is an orientation that'll speak to your unique needs as first-time members of our community. So that's not tonight's session. Tonight's session is really meant to address reopening questions. And just to give you a little sense of how the agenda will work, we're working hard to maximize the hour's time. Sister Gina Moore will start tonight, then I'll come on to address some facilities and communications matters, and then our assistant principals, Mrs. Crystal and Mrs. Sullivan, will dig into the questions that have been previously submitted, and if time allows, we'll take questions in real time. If you have questions on this call, you can send them through the chat function, and we'll do our best to answer them. Our communications team is on board tonight. They'll manage the questions that you send via chat. They'll send them to us in real time, and at the end, we'll do our best to respond to those. If time does not permit, we'll be sure to get to you directly and revise the FAQs that have been posted on Sacred Heart's website. So that's how we'll work tonight's time. This session will be recorded and posted on the website. So if you want to go back and watch it or share it with someone that wasn't able to join, please feel free to do that too. We do have over 185 people registered, so that's the way we're going to try to maximize our time together. So I hope that makes sense to you. And now, Sister Jean, I'll introduce you to begin with a little bit of reflection.
Hello, Shaw families, and welcome to our version of Sacred Heart Academy National Convention. Unlike the recent two conventions, ours will be an hour long, and the good news is that we know how the vote turns out. You have all voted unanimously and chosen Sacred Heart Academy. We are so grateful for your vote of confidence in us, especially in this difficult decision-making time. There is a prayer we, the adult Shaw community, often pray. It begins, it helps now and then to step back and take a long view. I'd like to start this meeting with a short, long view. In 2012, an 11-year-old Pakistani child learned that in some parts of the world, all girls went to school every day as part of their normal life, while in other parts, girls were starving for education. In her own country, girls were increasingly being banned from attending school. Encouraged by her humanitarian activist father, Malala Yousafzai attended a press conference. How dare the Pakistani Taliban take away my basic right to education, she asked her audience. Her speech was covered by newspapers and TV channels throughout the region. Shortly after, on her way home from school, she and two other girls were shot. When she recovered, she spread her message all over, acclaiming, I tell my story around the world, not because it's unique, but because it's the story of many girls. I retell the story of Malala to you because of your conviction, Shaw parents, in the value of Catholic education in an all-girls school. In the year 2020, in the midst of a pandemic affecting millions of people, in the midst of economic and employment instability, in the midst of racial injustices and violence, and in the midst of your own personal challenges, losses, and longings for the way life used to be, like Malala's father, your dreams for your daughter are stronger than your anxieties, fears, worries, and risks. We assure you, whether you are choosing to have your daughter start Sacred Heart in person or online, we want the Shaw experience to be one where she feels at home and loved, where she will be treated equally no matter her social class, color, or nationality, and where her academic and leadership potential will be filled by a curriculum and a co-curriculum that are rich, rigorous, and unique. Right now, you have practical and important questions we need to answer, but I hope you will hold on to the long view, because over and over we read, the future of our world is as bright as our girls. When girls can fulfill their promise and potential, poverty goes down, the economy grows, families are stronger, and babies are born healthier. When girls are educated, the whole country becomes stronger, more peaceful, and more prosperous. Rooted in the gospel of Jesus and the mission of the Sisters of St. Joseph, our shy young women make a difference in our world. And so we pray, loving God, as we go forward, we will need courage, we will need energy, we will need vision. We will need to be at ease with ourselves and our decisions. And we pray this in the name of our God, who continually creates us, redeems and saves us, and inspires and empowers us. Amen. And now Mrs. Graham will continue our meeting.
And thank you, Sister Jean. That's why I love working with Sister Jean, because she really does give you a sense of peace in a world that sometimes makes you feel a little thrown around. I've said before, and I want to reiterate tonight, I believe that trust and transparency will really be the hallmarks of success for this school year at Sacred Heart Academy. So I want to speak to that a little bit tonight in terms of our plan and also in terms of our communication strategy. So as you know, we've shared Sacred Heart's plan with you. It's been approved for opening in this September. We believe it's thorough and that it follows the CDC and New York State guidelines. It also really is, like all school plans are, very dependent on the commitment of families, students, and staff to share information about their travel, their behaviors, as well as following our protocols. And I can tell you, every time I've done a Zoom call, the landscapers show up. So I apologize for the background noise. You have my commitment that Sacred Heart will be transparent with you. I'll be transparent about the fact that it's likely that the opening of school will be bumpy as we are working with totally new protocols. So imagine that, I mean, we're bringing back every student, new students and returning students, returning faculty, new faculty, everybody's working with new protocols. So we're also getting used to being back together and managing a lot of personal feelings around that. So that can be challenging. So we're asking that you be patient with us and be patient with your daughters. We will get there, but it may take the first week to do it. So, and we will be communicating with you throughout that time. So I hope that you have seen some of our social media posts. We're launching a campaign called All In. And I think that's really what Sacred Heart Academy is for this year. And more now than ever, we are all in to make this work, all in to make this happen. So we're going to continue to share fun posts reminding students about some of our new protocols like hand washing, mask wearing. One reminder you'll see is that we're asking students and families not to travel to any area noted by New York State as high risk for the 2 weeks prior to the start of school. So we're right in that zone now. We're really just a week away. So this is for your own safety and the safety of the Sacred Heart community. And we will be asking students to participate in what we're calling a social responsibility pledge. And that'll be sent to them via email. That's just another way for them to commit to the fact that they will participate in what we're asking them to do, that they're willing to do these things, that they're aware of them. And it's also meant to help engage them in the process with us. So you can look forward to getting that in a separate email. We've also included videos and tips on the reopening page of our website, and you can find that right from Sacred Heart's homepage. So any information that you're hearing, we're trying to make sure that that's easy for you to find, and it's located on Sacred Heart's webpage. The weekly newsletter started again on August 24th. So please be sure to check your email or Sacred Heart's Learning Management System. We refer to that as the portal. Other schools refer to that as an LMS or Learning Management System. It's very important that you check that. Probably more ninth grade families, this is a good opportunity for you to get in a habit. 10th grade families, if you haven't been in the habit, that portal is going to be essential in terms of receiving critical information from Sacred Heart. So please be sure that you're using that effectively. We've also shared the academic calendar, but we made the decision not to print it. I know as a mom of 2 children in school, that sort of feels a little heart palpitating not to have a printed school calendar, but we just knew that there were going to be a lot of changes to the calendar this year, things that we were going to need to be adding. So I didn't want to give you a printed school calendar, but it is on the school website, so you can reference it. And you can also download the calendar. That's my favorite way to view the calendar is on your iPhone or your smartphone. You can download it and all those events will be put into your phone and they will update as we change them. So that's something that you might want to think about doing. Building changes. A lot of your questions have come in around physical distancing in the building, so I want to address those now. Probably the biggest changes you'll see, and if you're a 9th grade student coming in, you won't know what's different, but for 10th grade families, the biggest changes are in the faculty room and the cafeteria. We saw the guidance that came out from New York State back in July really encouraged schools to look at spaces differently so that they could expand spaces for teaching. And so we looked closely at that, and our faculty room and cafeteria became areas that we knew we could convert into teaching spaces. So the faculty room has been divided so that the larger portion is now a classroom. And then the cafeteria, which will not be used for dining this year, has been repurposed for 2 teaching spaces. And Mrs. Crystal will speak a little more to that, but those are probably the biggest physical changes. We've also invested in hands-free faucets in all of our bathrooms. So girls, when they come in, they'll just, as you've seen in other places, they won't have to touch faucets. They'll rub hands underneath. That'll help them to wash their hands. Air conditioning units have been put into each of our classrooms. There's a lot of varying information on air conditioners. How are they, what's that, are they good, are they bad? We know they help manage heat, so that's significant for us. And over the summer, we've really been blessed. A generous benefactor has donated 50 HEPA filters with UV lights. These are the HEPA filters that you're hearing a lot about. They're considered sort of gold standard for ventilations. These units are small. You can easily fit in the front of the classroom or the back of the classroom without taking up a lot of space, which is very important to us. Some of the HEPA units are very big, and so we didn't want those because we can't give up the space in the classroom. That order was placed in mid-August, and we were told that there's a 4 to 6 week lead time. We're approximately 2 weeks into that. So they'll ship rapidly, but they won't be here for September 8th when school starts. But I would say somewhere by mid to late September, there will be HEPA filters in all of our classrooms. And that's a big advance for us. because ventilation continues to be an area of focus. Plexiglass has been ordered and is being installed as it arrives in computer labs, the library, the main office, the nurse's office, the cafeteria, and on teachers' desks in individual classrooms. So that'll help to serve as barriers in different places for us. Now to the question of physical and social distancing. This is a big question here on 47 Cathedral Avenue, and one that I want to address specifically. So currently, 3% of our students have elected the virtual learning model. So that's 3% of the overall student body, which is approximately 880 students, have elected to learn exclusively virtually. And they'll have some time to make changes around that, but at this moment in time, we're at 3%. In terms of physical distancing, I keep saying we've done everything possible, and I mean everything, to increase space. We've removed cabinets, we've discarded old material, we've played with desk sizes, we've played with desks themselves, we've configured them differently, we've revisited scheduling assignments. However, we have not been able to grow that building. I have tried, I have prayed, we have not been able to grow the building. So you know the building. If you're a 10th grade family, you know it. If you're a 9th grade family, and in it. And if I'm true to my commitment of transparency, I want to hear you, I want you to hear me say the mask is critical to Sacred Heart Academy's reopening. We are relying very heavily on the use of a face covering to stay compliant with all guidelines, some of which vary. We're getting guidelines from New York State. We're getting guidelines from the independent and religious schools. Sacred Heart needs to follow SORAS, which is the Schools of Religious and Independence, but everything is dependent on the wearing of a face covering. Some of the classrooms will allow for physical or social distancing within the guidelines between desks. Most don't. In these situations, it is the mask or face covering that will allow us to remain compliant. And I want to be transparent. I don't want to surprise you. We haven't grown the building. The mask is part of our uniform. All schools, all high schools who are opening at full capacity are really leaning into this. The mask is essential and it becomes important. The desks have been put into classrooms to accommodate the largest number of students that may ever be taught in that space. So you may be in a classroom with 30 desks and there'll only be 18 students. There'll be a lot more opportunity for physical and social distancing in that space. And then the teachers will have the opportunity to create a seating chart that maximizes physical distancing. Even in those instances, students will be required to wear a mask. To keep it simple, to keep it easy, students wear a mask all day, all the time. And so we're going to do one of our all-in campaign month is mask training. If you haven't been wearing a mask all summer or you're not comfortable, start to wear it. My own children at home starting to do 1 hour a day, now 2 hours a day. What is it like to wear a mask? It's not easy, but it's not impossible if you start to get used to it. Some of the important part is around how do you manage the most highly trafficked times, like transition between classes, hallways. How does that work? So we have hired additional staff as hall monitors to be in hallways to assist with mask compliance and orderliness in the hallways. Hallways that have been marked so that students, when they come, will have to get familiar with the trafficking of the hallways, but the hall monitors will assist them in how to remain compliant during class transitions. And that's going to be a space where we know is going to be a big challenge, and the hall monitors will assist us. And you can maybe imagine that lunch will present an additional challenge. So when students need to remove their mask to eat, we really need to rely on their cooperation. And Mrs. Crystal will speak to some of the other things that we've done to invest in making physical distancing safe during the lunchtime period. We have invested in 3 tents, which have been placed on campus. One is outside of the cafeteria, one is in front of the guidance complex, and one is a very large tent. If you saw any of the coverage of our commencement this year, it's in place on our practice field. The large tent will be used for the opening week of school for grade level meetings, and the other uses are ours to design. and we're still working out the best way that they can be used for both instruction and socialization, but they do give us options. As I said in the last video, options are good, but they're also weather dependent. So last time we did a video like this, there was a semi-hurricane coming through. So there are real things that we have to manage with weather. But that's part of what we're going to be having over the next couple of weeks in terms of how we manage our options, and the tents give us that. I sincerely believe that with your help, Sacred Heart Academy is a community uniquely positioned to meet this moment. I think that we have students who want to do this, we have parents who are committed to this, and we have a community that's all in. So we're really excited about coming back in September, and I'm excited now to ask Mrs. Sullivan to talk to some of the submitted questions that we've received. Mrs. Sullivan?
Hi, Sacred Heart families. How are you? I hope you had a good summer. Thank you for submitting your questions. As Mrs. Graham stated, we are hoping that we can provide you with additional clarity. I'd like to start by addressing the question we received on arrival procedures. Previously, when students got off the bus, they would have gathered in the cafeteria until the bell and then headed to homeroom. We will no longer be doing this. Students will now enter through the theater doors and proceed straight to homeroom. Before a student arrives at school, parents or guardians must go to the Smart Button app. We have now, or will by the end of the week, have launched a Smart Button app where you would have answered 4 or 5 questions about her health, whether there are COVID symptoms, her temperature, things along that line. And then you would send that in. If you don't remember by 7 o'clock, we will send you a reminder. Okay, but every parent must fill out this app, these questionnaire to send to us. Okay, when she comes to school, the student's temperature will be taken. And then what will happen is once we get her in here, and that sounded terrible that we're going to keep her as a prisoner. That's not really what I wanted to say. But once she enters the building, sorry about that. I kind of miss him. I want him to come back. So I might keep him for a little bit longer than is necessary. But before a student, when they enter, everyone's going to enter through the theater lobby doors. And when they enter, they must be masked, of course. And we will have thermal scans. So as they come in, there'll be a thermal scan. If a student's temperature is 100.0 degrees Fahrenheit or higher, the girls will sit out for 5 or 10 minutes. We will then re-temp her. If the temperature remains at 100 degrees, 0.0 degrees, Fahrenheit or higher, we will ask that the parent comes pick them up. We will put them in a separate isolation room. We will call you up and we'll ask you to pick them up. So if your daughter is an in-person student, please be sure that the person who's on your emergency contact card can be contacted right away if you're working in the city or you're working out of state. We would really appreciate that. And then to return, if your daughter does have fever or COVID-like symptoms, she needs medical clearance in order to return. In regards to transportation, just a reminder that each family has to contact their school districts. We have over 50 school districts that do come to our school, so please contact them. They have extended it till September 4th in order for you to have the bus. The Shaw van will be available to transport our girls to and from the train. So I think something was sent out recently about whether or not you need to use the van, but that will be there for you to use. Following the dismissal, we expect that most students will be picked up or taken home by bus. We will, however, have an area for students who will be awaiting rides. The school building closes and all students need to be picked up by 5 p.m. Okay, and that normally is what we had last year as well. So we will have a separate area for the girls to wait to be picked up. But the girls will be waiting in an area at social distancing, and there will be an adult there, and then you will pick them up the theater lobby. So if you make sure that your daughter does have her phone, you just text her, and then she to let her know that you'll be meeting her outside. As for the New York State and CDC guidelines on quarantine and notifications and testing have been shared, but there have been some additional questions. As the site coordinator, myself and Mr. Rappaport, I will provide you with some answers to some specific questions. If my daughter gets a cold, does she need to quarantine for 14 days? Any student who is showing COVID-19 like symptoms and is sent home from school must have medical clearance to return. Her medical professional will make a determination as to whether she needs to be tested and/or quarantined. She may return to school only with medical clearance. The next question is, should a student be exposed to another student with COVID, how will we know how close they have been to the infected student? If a student tests positive for COVID-19, the Department of Health will notify those students who were in close contact with that person, keeping the identity of the person confidential. Is it possible for Sacred Heart to provide group saliva tests for students and staff? And is there a testing protocol in place? The CDC does not recommend universal testing. If a family would like to be tested, they may contact their health professional or provider. What is the current guidance you must follow that would determine if you need to close in person and switch to online? The Department of Health determines school closures. Typically, if a case is reported, the DOH will require the school to be closed for 1 to 2 days for a thorough cleaning. And from there, they will determine appropriate reopening. We will report all cases to the DOH and follow their guidelines. Many of you have asked about athletics. We sent a communication last week that stated that at this time, the Nassau-Suffolk Catholic High School Girls Athletic Association is actively engaged in discussions with state and local officials and is weighing all options regarding the interscholastic athletic seasons. The health and safety of our student athletes is the top priority as we continue to work hard and to provide opportunities for participation and engagement in athletics. As decisions are being made, we will be sure to communicate them to you in a timely fashion. We previously announced that Red and Gold is tentatively scheduled for April 19th. We will be communicating with you separately on this as we move forward. The Nutcracker is currently scheduled to take place live, and we are hopeful that we will remain true. In the event that we have to move it to a virtual show, we will communicate that as well. I don't think anybody's old enough for driver's ed, but if any of your students are, the New York State has approved new guidelines for driver ed education. We will be utilizing these new guidelines to complete all aspects of driver education remotely. Details are still in discussion and will be posted on our webpage soon. We are planning to resume classes September 30th. That will be for the spring 2020 students. We are considering ways to accommodate the summer 2020 students that were canceled and for some Shaw seniors. More details will be forthcoming from our Director of Driver's Education. And as Mrs. Graham mentioned earlier, just a reminder to our freshman parents that students will be welcomed tomorrow by the upperclasswomen. Masks must be worn, temperatures taken, a series of icebreakers will take place. There'll be activities, box lunches, retreat activities, and their Chromebooks will be distributed along with their Shaw student emails, their passwords, and instructions to get on the portal. September 1st, names that start with A and end in Johnson will come at between 8 and 3 o'clock, and Johnston to Z will come on September 2nd from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Thank you very much. I know that was a lot. I talk fast, but you can call me at extension 231 if you didn't catch everything. And again, welcome back, everyone. And now Mrs. Graham, Mrs. Crystal.
Thank you, Mrs. Sullivan. Good evening, everybody. We just had a few questions that I will be covering. One was about remote learning. Is there an academic difference between remote and in-person learning? The answer is no. Those students who opt for remote learning will be attending the same classes as they would if they were in person. Academically, they will be able to ask questions and have access to these teachers during extra help during the 10th period. Students will be given the same exams as well at the same time. So those remote learners and those in-person learners will be taking the tests at the same time. Teachers will be proctoring them while they're proctoring the students in the classroom. This begs the question, what about integrity of these exams? SHA has an integrity and exam committee that's investigating ways to make sure that students are taking exams honestly, using their own knowledge and not any aids. Students' grades during each quarter may comprise of different types of assessments that focus less on exams. Ordinarily, students are given strict guidelines regarding behaviors during exams, and this will happen for both in-person and online. No bending down, head focused on the test, no excessive movements, and these would apply to both students at home or in school. Another question came in: if my daughter is not comfortable, can she switch to virtual school? As previously communicated, yes, at certain dates, and those are online under FAQs on our reopening page. Students may switch in and out of online during online learning. If my daughter has a normal sick day, not COVID related, can they do online for that day when they're home? The answer is yes. The student will need to be called in as present on remote to the attendance office. She will need to be present for each period from homeroom until 10th period to receive attendance credit for that day. However, if the student is too sick to complete the full day online, she will need to be called in as absent for the day. Testing, however, will not be allowed on those days for the student who is registered as an in-person student. Testing must be taken in the mode in which the student has selected. Meaning, if the student has selected to be in person, she will need to take all exams in person. A sick student may take a makeup exam upon her return. Excessive attendance issues will be addressed individually. We had a few questions about dance and gym classes, and some were about exertion. For dance and gym classes, I just wanted to mention that girls should wear their official gym uniform under their uniform. So the t-shirt and shorts under their skirts and blouses. Classrooms will no longer be warm anymore, as each of them is going to be equipped with an air conditioner with airflow from open windows and open doors. Since our dance classes are not necessarily competitive, they're not considered high risk. They will follow physical distancing whenever possible and follow mask protocol. Mask wearing will be important as well. Gym classes, when held indoors, will be physically distanced by markers on the gym floor. Girls will also be following mask protocol. Gym classes will be outside whenever weather permits, which will be often. Students should bring socks and sneakers on gym days and should always have SHA sweatpants and a sweatshirt for cooler weather in case they go outside for either gym class or for other classes as well. In addition to gym, if the tents are not signed out, teachers may take their classes outside, including study hall classes, and in particular, music classes. FYI, we are ordering special singing masks for girls who sing and special filters for their instruments. And then we had a few questions about lunch, the most favorite topic of all. Students will stay in fourth period class and continue to eat. Sorry. Students will stay in period 4 class and eat there for the time allotted for lunch, which is about 20 minutes. Students may have noticed that period 5 lunch is called period 4 room, standing for period 4 room. If you could mute yourselves, that would be great, all of you. Thank you.
This is Crystal, you've muted yourself as well. Thank you.
I'm going to start with this. Students will not have lockers and are asked to travel light. Backpacks should be able to carry a device, folder and loose sleeve for a notebook, pens, pencils, calculator, lunch, especially lunch, water bottle, art supplies if they have an art class, sneakers, socks on gym days, and phones, which brings me to the topic of phones. Phones are off and away throughout the day. They need to be turned off. I know that students need phones but they need to be turned off completely. And most importantly, of course, they can't forget their lunch. Please be reminded, no nuts or tree nuts. Our food service will be forwarding information shortly about a special app for ordering food to be delivered directly to students' classrooms. All orders will be placed the week prior to the next week, so you'll be ordering a week ahead. Since physical distancing was of some concern, each student will be given a privacy shield. Now this is new, so they can safely remove their masks and eat lunch. These privacy shields are soft plastic corrugated shields recommended by threat mitigation consultants Parata and Company. These shields will be labeled with their name on them and for use every day. Although lunch may be looked at as somewhat of a social time, this year's lunch will be used solely for eating. Social time can happen later, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Parents are welcome to also send their daughters in with their own barriers as well. For instance, even face shields or any other barrier that they seem fit to use. Once academics are completed for the day, we move to 10th period and then dismissal. We have posted the 10th period club schedule to our reopening site. A lot of thought went into scheduling time for the students to commingle and to explore their interests, and we hope that your daughters will really take advantage and enjoy this extra period. Students will be viewing screencastifies of each club the first week of school during the 10th period. There are 47 clubs from which to view and to choose from. They may send an interest email to their moderator. Clubs will be officially starting on September 14th. The 10th period will be helpful for our 9th grade students, especially to meet other students through this participation. Period 10 will also have extra help sessions built in where a student may seek assistance from one of their teachers. All remote learners will also be able to participate in 10th period activities through Google Meets. They will have to contact the club moderator to let them know that they would like to join. Once a student joins a club, they should attend it regularly so that it counts for their resume. If they cannot attend, perhaps to attend an extra help session, then they should reach out to the club moderator. And now I'd like to pass this program on to Sister Jean.
Hello again, everybody. We had one comment that we would like to address, and this comment is, and I quote, "I'm pleased that diversity and inclusion are part of opening week. How and what will be covered, and what will the follow-up be?" So this is our plan. During the mornings of September 8, 9, 10, and 11, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, all students will participate in 2 programs. The first program is a program we have used over the years with students with great success. It's called Interact. It's an outside company that comes to us with the theme empathy, inclusion, and kindness. Actors perform vignettes on social issues, and then students and the actors have an opportunity to interchange. This year it will be done by Zoom. Because students have been away since March, this program will also serve as helping students re-enter, adjust to being back to school, and it will build a social emotional bridge from last year to this year. The second program, also by Zoom this year, is a program called Trill or Not Trill. This is a company that does diversity training and comes highly recommended to us by the education consultant used by all the schools sponsored by the Sisters of St. Joseph. The theme will be, what does DEI, that is, what does diversity, inclusion, and equity look like when Shaw students lead with heart? On September 3rd, the morning agenda for our faculty staff meeting will be DEI. Over the past months, we have had listening sessions with students, past and present parents, faculty, and staff. We've had conversations with a diversity consultant, and we've established a DEI task force to assist Sacred Heart in its mission to be a community of inclusive love. Our theme this year is Living and Witnessing God's Justice at Shaw. Becoming free of all prejudice, bias, and racism in our hearts, we know, is a continual and long process of inner conversion. But having said this, we can start now to implement steps that raise the level of our consciousness and behaviors. So this is our plan. It's our priority. And now, Mrs. Graham, do you want to lead us forward?
Yeah, I do. I think we have a few minutes left, and I know if you've submitted questions via the chat, we have a member of our communications team who's going to feed them to us. So, Mrs. Riley, have we received any questions via the chat that we want to be able to respond to tonight?
Yes, we have a few. The first one is about arrival procedures. So Mrs. Sullivan, I think this one is for you. The question is, are the students still welcome to arrive at 7 a.m., which I guess is a little earlier? And if so, what is the procedure? Where do they go once they arrive? You have to unmute.
I know. Some things never change. My parents, if you know me ahead of time. Yeah, school's still open at 7. It's open at 7 a.m. and we'll close at 5. So nothing changes. So 7 o'clock school open.
Thanks.
So they
Mrs.
can just
Sullivan.
arrive again at the theater balcony, the theater doors, and the same way that they would have at the front doors, it'll be the theater lobby doors now. So 7 a.m. Yes.
Okay. The next question is about 10th period. Mrs. Crystal, is the 10th period mandatory? If they do not participate in a club, are they able to leave after 9th period?
That 10th period is a mandatory class for 9th, 10th, and 11th graders. After October 1st, seniors will have a privilege. It's called the senior privilege. So if they don't, we're going to have a special area where students can have a study hall during that time. So they'll be able to go to the theater and have a special spot where they can even talk to some of their friends. They'll be socially distanced, but they can talk to some of their friends and they can do some work. So if they don't go to an extra help session or if they don't go to a club, they will still be able to be productive.
Okay. The next question is about the Chromebooks. Are the Chromebooks going to all students or just the 9th graders?
Chromebooks are just for the 9th graders. So then that is going to be part of their tuition payment, for over 4 years. But any of the other 10, 11, and 12s can bring their own devices. And we'll be only communicating through SHA emails, so no personal emails will be used.
Okay, and Mrs. Sullivan, what about a student that chooses remote learning? Will she be provided with a Chromebook from the school?
If she's a 9th grader, yes. The parent would have to come up and pick it up, yes.
Okay.
Gym uniforms, or any questions around gym uniforms?
There was a question, when will they be given out? When will the gym uniforms be given out?
The first class period of gym.
Okay, so that first day, the freshmen who do not
The
have.
the first day they go to gym, their first gym class, they'll receive it then.
Okay, thank you. And
I'm sorry.
Face shields, are they permitted to wear face shields instead of a face mask?
No, they can't. They have to be. The face mask is a definite. The face shield is supplemental. They can wear it in addition to, not in place of.
Okay, and now we have a question about the use of lockers. As the weather gets colder, will the rule change on whether or not they're able to use their lockers?
Yes, lockers will, after when it starts getting colder and they do have coats, we will open up the lockers at that point. Yes.
Okay. There's a question here. Have you sent out details regarding the daily app for temperature checks? I think you did address that, but can you just repeat that, Mrs. Sullivan?
Sure. What will happen is we will be sending that out at the end of this week. Everyone will receive the app. So please look for it. In fact, freshman parents, probably this evening, will receive a notice for tomorrow and for Wednesday about filling out just a form for us, over the web. But everyone should, by the end of the week, receive information about downloading the smart button and then how to use it. There'll be instructions involved with that as well.
Okay, we have some questions about uniforms in three different areas. One is asking if there's a uniform for dance class. Another is about students other than ninth graders purchasing additional gym uniforms. And the last is, do the online learners need to be in their school uniform?
Good questions.
Yes, the girls who are online learners have to wear the uniform as well. So everyone wears the uniform, whether they're in person or not. And they were asking that they go to an area when they are online learning that is, a kitchen table. They're not to be in their bedroom. They're not to be, in the backyard. There's supposed to be someplace where they can have a table, they can actually concentrate. Mrs. Crystal, do you want to, and Mrs. Pops, the gym uniform, if you would like to purchase that. I know I'm going to say her name wrong.
Hospital.
Thank you, Mrs. Pops. You can contact her at extension 433 if you'd like to purchase a gym uniform. And I don't know the third part. That might be Mrs. Crystal's, the third one. Mrs. Riley, I don't remember that.
The third one was the dance uniform.
The dance uniform is the same gym uniform. It's got to be a shirt and shorts. And I think we sent it in the supply list that the first half of the year they needed ballet slippers and the second half tap shoes. And I think that's on the supply list.
Okay. Mrs. Crystal, can you describe the privacy shield for lunch in a little further detail? I think they're having a hard time imagining what you were describing.
Sure. You'll be sitting at a table, and at that table, at your desk, you'll have your space, and on your desk will be a shield that goes around you like this. It's like piece on the left and forward and on the side, so that you'll be able, so if you cough or sneeze, it prevents and it goes on your shield, opposed to not. So that time is really for you to focus on just eating your sandwich and having that space that you call your own. And it's really more for prevention since you're not going to be wearing a mask.
Can I just interrupt? If you think about it as, you remember the trifold boards that you used in science fairs? It's a short trifold board. Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Sullivan.
Exactly right. It'll fit around her desk so that because it'll keep us compliant with the guidelines that say when you do not have 6 feet of distance or 4 feet as recommended by the independent schools, you need a barrier. So when she's taking her mask off to have lunch, she needs some kind of barrier to keep the people around her safe as well. So that's why the lunch shields become very important. And I would just echo Mrs. Crystal's earlier statement, after your daughter's had an experience in her lunch period, if she you feel that you prefer her to have something different, she can, feel free to bring that to school so that she can use what she feels most comfortable with. Most students will eat lunch in the same space every day. So there'll be a few exceptions to that, but on the whole, most students will eat lunch in the same classroom. So if she feels that she wants something different than what's being provided by Sacred Heart, she's welcome to bring that. Any other questions, Mrs. Riley?
Yes, there's some follow-up questions on those lunch shields. There's questions about them being cleaned after each use, and will only one girl be using them, but more importantly, how will they be cleaned? And will the girls be instructed on how to do that?
So I'll take that a little bit just because the girls will be assigned a unique shield that's unique to her. They'll be placed in a bag that is hers and only hers. So you won't see any of those horrible memes where the child comes home with one mask and comes back with another. And they're like, why are you wearing someone else's mask? This is the shield uniquely tied to your daughter. It'll be marked for her. She'll be responsible for cleaning them. They'll be following the guidelines as you'll see on our plan about all of our spaces will be cleaned by students at the end, remind me if I'm wrong here, at the end of their period. So the lunch shield will be no different, and they'll clean them themselves and they'll put them back into a bag that'll be used by her again the next day. They fold up, they go in the bag, and that's how we'll manage the lunch shields. So this is the first time we've ever had lunch shields, so we're learning too, but that's how we've been advised by a professional to manage our needs at lunch.
Okay. We have a few more questions about masks.
Yes.
Will the Sacred Heart mask be given out on the first day? Also, what are the rules for other masks if they choose to wear their own? And can you tell us a little bit about mask breaks?
Yes. So maybe Mrs. Sullivan, you want to start on the masks?
Sure.
I'll wear the Sacred Heart mask for you. This is what it looks like.
Everyone will receive the Sacred Heart mask. Her name will be inside the mask. Actually, Mrs. Manfrey and a group of people put their names in each of the masks. They'll receive it the first homeroom day. If they would like to wear their own, they could wear the surgical masks that we normally wear. They could wear a mask that it has any mask that they would like, but if it has to be a solid color, no logos on it, no name, no pictures, nothing. They cannot wear gaiters, which are the things that looks like a turtleneck.
Mm-hmm.
No knitting, no knitted, and they cannot have one that has vents on it. Who is going to jump from there?
I think there was a question. I had received a question about something about how if somebody does stay home and when they're on remote, how are they going to do that? Because the first week we are trying out remote for the M to L students. The first day they will be on remote. They're all going to be receiving a Google Meet invitation by each one of their teachers. And they will be signing into the Google Meet during the time that they are to go to school. So if they have English first period and they have Mrs. Volpe will invite them. And from there, they will just log into the Google Meet with Mrs. Volpe. And they should follow the time schedule that's on the calendar. It's on the front page of the calendar so that because they don't have bells at home, they're going to have to manage that and go from class to class.
Mrs. Riley, I think we have about 5 minutes left. Are there any final questions that have come in or anything that we should be answering in real time?
There are a couple of quick ones that I think we can answer now. And there were a few questions about the first week. And I believe we're sending a reminder out about who is expected to be in on what day. So that information will be shared. But there was a question about whether the girls need to be wearing blazers. And then also with the air conditioners on, will the windows be open in the classrooms?
Mrs. Sullivan, you want to take those too?
They can have, what we did ask is that if a student needed a mask break, they could go out into the hallway, but we'll have the hallway monitors out there so they can go out a few minutes. As for the air conditioners, what we've gone through with guidance is that if we keep the doors ajar and the air conditioners going, that would allow for the free flow of air to go in and out of the classrooms. And I didn't hear the first part of that.
Blazers. They're not wearing blazers.
No, they never wear blazers till like November 1st or October 15th, between those times. So no, blazers will not be worn at that time. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. They don't have to worry about their blazers. Encourage them to wash those uniforms at night. That's something that I think the uniforms are washable. They can be washed. We're asking they be washed. Blazers can't be. That's why we're suspending them. Any other wrap-up questions before we roll into the 11th and 12th graders?
I think the one that is the easiest to answer is a freshman parent is asking if the daughter has an allergy, can she bring her own lunch instead of receiving the box lunch at the orientation?
Of course.
Okay, yeah, that's it.
And allergies has been a question that's come through. We continue to communicate to families that because students are eating lunch in their classrooms, that nuts of any kind are not allowed to be brought in. They're never part of our cafeteria menus, but more importantly than ever, no nuts can come through lunch. And please, we do have a lot of students with real nut allergies. So I think as you can hear, your questions support it. Sacred Heart Academy is all in. And what does it mean to be all in? It means to give your very best effort to make sure that we can commit as a community to offering a safe reopening of school to all of our members, whether they're learning at home, whether they're learning on campus, whether they're a faculty member or a staff member. We're all in, our faculty's all in, our facilities team is doubly all in. They've been working all summer. Our administration is all in, and we're so grateful that you and your daughters are all in. So know that we are praying for you. We ask your prayers for us as we enter a really unprecedented moment, one that we know that we can do differently at Sacred Heart, thanks to you and your commitment. So thanks for being with us. Anything we haven't gotten to, we'll be sure to answer in writing. And wish us luck. We're going into the upper class women, so they're a tougher group. So thanks for being with us tonight. Stay safe and well. We look forward to seeing those ninth graders tomorrow morning. God bless you and your families.